Hi and welcome to another tutorial from Blender Insight. This time about Boids. So what is Boids? Boids is a particle physics system that you can use for things like birds flying in the air, fishes swimming in the sea, zombies hunting you, or lion hunting prey, or whatever. When you have a swarm or flock of creatures that you want to react in some way together, when they are hunted, or if they are hunting you, or something like that, then Boids is the thing. I will show you a little bit how that works. So we start as usual with removing this cube, pressing X, delete, and instead I will put in a plane here, so Shift A, mesh, plane, and there you have it. And I use a plane because it's really easy to see how Boids work in a plane. So to make it work I need particles. So I click particles here and I press the plus sign, and now I have a lot of numbers and things here to change, but we take it step by step. So frame start 1, it's okay, but end should be 1. Lifetime I would like to have 500. It will take some time to do this. And if I go to source, I will change that from jittered into grid. And when I use grid, the amount of things here is controlled by the resolution and not by the number up here. So that is why it's grayed out. Now if I press play, you will see that everything is going down. And that is because of the physics today, which is Newtonian. That is what's default, but we will go to Boids instead. And I can click this one as well. If I now go and play here again, you can see it's a completely different pattern. And if I go back and I press Z here, so you can see it from the above and see this reaction here. And now I go back a few steps. So then it's like this. Everything is going smooth until those touching each other. As soon as they do that, something happens. They fly around, meeting other Boids and reacting to those and so on. So it gets like a chain reaction, and suddenly everything is running around but still keeping together in some way. So now it's really flying a lot. So we can change those things, of course. So what I will do is go into that thing called movement here, where we have allow flight, allow land, and allow climbing. Flight is flying up or down. Land is coming back to the plane here, and climbing, it's when one Boid is near another Boid and you can climb that Boid. So we start with just allow flight, and instead of max airspeed 10, we just put that to 1 instead. And if I now run it, you can see that the reaction is much smaller. It's still the same. They are still together, working together and reacting on each other, but they're not flying away in a hurry. It's just touching at each other a bit and so on. It's not so much. And you can also control how much you would like these to go up in the air when the reaction is coming, because you can change what's called max air acceleration. So if you take down that a bit and you run again, you can see now it's a little bit harder for them to go up in the air. It's really hard. So you can of course take that almost all the way down, and if you do that, yeah, then they stay on the ground almost. It's slowly going up, but it takes the time to do it. So the max acceleration here decides how fast they should go up into the air. Like this. Okay. Then we have max air angular velocity. and that is how much Boid can turn in the how much it can rotate or change direction and so on. So if I put that to 0 and now press this, it goes straight up. You don't have any power. You have not given any power to the Boids, so they go straight up. But on the other hand, if you put it to 1, then they can go whatever they want to, and they are jumping back and forth like crazy. Now we have very small values here, so if I just increase that a bit, you can see how it works now. So, okay, so you can see here, it reacts in a very jumpy way. So to avoid jumpy, you go down with the max the max air angular velocity, but not too much, because then you cannot react at all. Take this back again. But you find something that is working for you. You can see now that with this little value here, you can see that I cannot go to the both directions. I can just go to one direction. I need to have it a little bit more. So you can control that a bit. Okay, what do we have more here? We have this, that when you're going close here, you get this reaction as soon as they touch each other, and that is because the air personal space is 1. And if I increase this to like 2, then this is almost like you have double the size of this. You have one invisible wall here, and then you have the visible object here. So that means that when I start now, you can see that it, if I go back, it reacts a lot faster. So now there you can see it's jumping already now, because now you have a space that is double. So as soon as you touches something in the personal space here, which now is doubled, it reacts again. So you can also decide, you can also put this to like 0.5, and what happens then? Well, then you can see it's going into each other before it's reacting. So now it's involved inside each other. So if you put this to 1, you can be certain that it will not collide inside, will not merge together, but it will touch each other with no personal space. But if you go over 1, then you have some air between them. So this is a very good way to control particles if you do not want them to interact or merge together, which I showed you in the previous tutorial, just by changing the personal space here. Even more important is the brain of the Boid. Yes, the Boid has a brain. It's some kind of artificial intelligence into this. So as a default value, you have this separate and you have a flock, and that is what is reacting here. So now when you do this, it's those two rules that decides how this should move. We can go up here to just change back this, and we can take that up a little bit. Yes, so we have something here. And what do those rules do? Well, the separate, yes, it's exactly as it says on the name. It's try to separate them. So the separate is using this personal space to keep these away from each other. In the same time, I want them to be together, so I use the flock. And the flock is then to collect them together. And using those two together makes them try not to collide with each other, be separate, but still be as close as possible. And the thing with the rule here is that you can build a lot of rules into this. So you have a plus sign here, and here you have goal, which is where you want the boids to go eventually. You have avoid, where you have obstacles that you don't want to hit, and it could be a boid or it could be a normal mesh or object. You have also avoid collision, which are for boids. You have separate, which I said before. You have flock to keep them close to each other. You have follow the leader, and follow the leader and goal are closely connected to each other. So follow the leader, it's when those will follow an object that is not a boid and still be the leader, so to say. So if you like build a sphere or cube or whatever, and you move that around and you want the boids to follow them, then you can use the follow the leader. You can also use average speed to put in a specific flight level or maintain of the speed and so on, which means that you can keep them on a certain level so they don't fly away or something. And you can decide them to fight, and if you decide them to use them to fight, then of course they try to attack each other, go closer to each other. Okay, so let's try these things. Try goal, for instance. So what I will do now is I will try to create a goal using like Shift A to create a new mesh, and I will put in icosphere, and then I asked G set to move it up. So now it's up here, and that will be my goal. So if I now press this, and here is the rules, and I put in goal, then you can see you have an object here. And then you can just use this one and select this, and you get icosphere. So now it's just to run, you guess. But if I run now, not much happens. That goal is really hard to reach. You can see that it's fighting slowly towards the goal, but it's never reaching it. And that is because the first rule is the most important rule. The second rule is the second most important rule, and so on. And it could be that, okay, I can, as a Boid, do the first rule, but I skip the second one, or I skip the third one, or I keep all the rules. And that is a little bit random, and you can decide how random it is by using these two types of rules that you have here. So you have fuzzy, and you have random, and you have average. So if you use fuzzy, then it tries to use as many rules as possible if you have it in one, or as few rules as possible if you have it as 0. So here it's doing quite the opposite, and here it's doing more and more as it should do if you use it as fuzzy. If you use random, then you pick one of those rules for each Boid, and then it follows that rule. Or you can use an average, and then it's going through taking a little bit for each. But what we can do now is, first of all, we can keep the fuzzy here, but we can move the goal up before the other rules to see what difference it makes. So I move that goal up here, and now I press. And what you can see now is that it's going up. It's almost like an alien ship getting everything sucked up into the space or whatever, I don't know. But as you can see, I have now restarted Blender, and that is because I have a lot to say about Boids, but it's better for you to practice how to work with it. So let's start with the chase, the donut sprinkle chase, you know. And the first thing I will do is removing this box here, so I press X and delete, and now I will replace it with a donut. So Shift A again, mesh, and here I will have a torus that will be our donut. The next thing is for me to place the track for the donut to follow, and that I will do with the curve. So I will press Shift A and then curve, and we can use circle up here. And now I just press Tab to go to edit mode, and in here I can just scale this up a bit. So I just press S and then I drag it out here so we get something for the donut to follow. And then again I just press Tab and I'm back here, and now it's for me to attach the donut into this. So what I will do then is just to select the donut, go to constraints, and in the constraint I have something called follow path, so I select that one, and I tell the donut or torus that my target for the path will be this curve here. So I just select Bezier circle, and now I have it out here, and I will follow that curve and I will animate path. So I press this button here, and when I've done that and I go here, you can see that it's now following nicely. Next thing I will do is to make the camera follow the donut. I could parent the camera into this, but another way to do it is to make the camera also follow a path like this. So I select the camera, I use add object constraint, and I also use follow path here and select the Bezier circle. Since that already is animated now, the only thing I need to do is place this on the correct place. So I press N to get the information for where it is, and I just set 0 on everything. So location for these things will be 0. And now that camera and the torus is on the same place. But if I now change the offset a bit, I can move this. And the next thing I will do is try to get this camera to look at my torus. And to do that, I use another constraint. So I go in here and I use the damped track. And damped track is really nice because it doesn't follow 100%. It's follow about what you set as influence here. So it could be less or it could be more. And if I use damped track and I target the torus, the camera will try to find the torus here, but you also need to tell where to look at. So if I click on the minus Z here, you can see that it's now looking at this. And if I now change the offset, I can move this a bit. And if I press here, you can see, okay, this is how it looks. And when I run it, you can see that it's going round and round and round. That is a little bit controlled by how the camera itself is moving. So you can have it moving faster and slower, and it's also depending on the track, and the track is now round. So when I will go in and change that a little bit to get some ups and downs and make some changes and so on, the camera will not rotate so much. So we can do that almost right away, but first I need some surface to look at. So what I will do now is create another torus. So I press Shift A and torus here as well. And here we have the parameters or properties for torus. So I press Add torus here and change the media torus so it's going out so like this, and then I make it really big so you have something to work on here. So now I have my canyon, and I would like to take the lid off that canyon, or at least a small amount of it. So what I will do now is I just select it, press Tab, I press that little X here, and now I press Alt A to remove everything, and this one to see through, and faces. Now I have everything, and I think I can take about that thing over there. It will take away. So now I press X faces, and here you have the track. And to make everything work good or look nicer, you can put in some obstacles as well. So what I will do now is that I go to edges here, and I decide where I would like to have my obstacles. So I will have one here, I think, and that you can do exactly as you want to. It's up to you how you would like to do your obstacles. So I do mine here, and I now press F to faces, and I do one more here in the front, and press F again. So now I have some obstacles that I must go over or under, and some changes on that. So Control R for loop cuts and a few of those. So now I have something that I must follow. So what I will do now is that I press Tab to go to object mode again, and now I click my track here and I adapt the track to my obstacles here. So I press Tab again, press A so I know that everything is selected, and then right click and subdivide, I don't know, 3 times, something like that, so I have something to play with. And now I can just select some of these, like these here. Keep my shift down and G set to drag them up a bit. So they are following this, and then I take that and that, I think, G set down. And that is up to you, of course, and your track, how you have built your track. So yeah, it's just for you to play with until you're satisfied, moving things a little bit up and down until you get it as you want. So I think I take my down here in a way, and I think I take that up a bit. Okay, so now I have something here. And if I now go to camera and I try to follow this, you can see now that it's following the path, and it looks like it can handle all the obstacles in a good way. So now it's for me to try to fine-tune everything here. So what I will do now is that I go to obstacles here, or constraint, and I will say camera, and if I change my influence a bit, so and I can also change my rotation. It's fine-tuning everything of this so that it works. Okay, so when you have changed everything so you are happy, then, and I hope not too dizzy, then you might have something that looks like this. So it's rotating a bit, but you can follow the donut or torus as you want to. And now it's time for you to add the particles. So we can stop this because I get a bit dizzy of seeing this too much. And now it's time for us to add the particles, as I said. So I can go to number 1 here, and now I would like to add them, and I will add them just as I did before using a plane. So I press Shift A, mesh, and I add a plane here, and then I just drag G, Y, and put it out here somewhere. So then it's okay to have it. And start here on displays, because we need some sprinkles as well. So I press Shift A and mesh use here, and this will be my sprinkle. But before I do that, so then I press rotate, so R, Y, 90. So now I have it on the sideways, object, apply, rotation, and pressing tab. What I will now do now is I will scale this, can take view here, local view, toggle local view, so I only see this one. What I will do now is I will take away this part here, and then I will add a mirror modifier so I can stretch this into a sprinkle. So what I will do is select faces, and I will see through it. I will press Alt A to remove, and just I drag here, press X to delete faces, and now I add my mirror here, and you can see it here, and I press clipping, so it doesn't, so it is stuck into this this edge here. Then I press A and just drag it, so G, X, and then I can drag it out like this, perhaps a little bit more, so we get this sprinkle shape. And we can also select the vertices and just select the middle part and just drag it a little bit in, so we don't get it a bit too round. I think it's more like this. And then I just turn this off and go out, and this is my particle that will chase the donut. And now it's up to me to view everything again, so view local view, toggle local view, and here we have it. And now it was a really big thing here, so we can just scale it down a bit like this, and object, apply, scale. And now I would place this into my plate here, so, and I move that a little bit closer to my torus using G, and then just R set to rotate it a bit. So I will place it here. And now I go to my particle system, because I will fill this with Boids, and press plus here, change this frame start to 1 and end to 1. Lifetime could be like 500 and 500 here as well. And source will now be grid, as we said before, and in physics we change this to Boids, we check this one, and in render we change halo to object, and in object we will select the sphere, I think was this one. So now I have every little particle here. And what we will do, as you might remember from earlier, is that we will make this either a follow the leader or a goal, and we can use a goal here. So I will select, go down here into my Boid brain and add a plus sign, and I add a goal here, and now I move that to the top, since that is to follow this torus, follow this donut here. I will also do like this, that I will select the big area and make that so it is sensitive to collisions. So now I go into force, I click collision here, so which means that if those collide on the edges, they will react and not go right through it. So if I now start from the beginning here, you can see it takes some time, nothing happens, it's just going, now it's waking up, but almost nothing happens. Why is that? Well, let's go back again. I look at my goal. What type of object has the goal? Well, we didn't set any and we need to set that. So I take this one and I put it on this, and now you can see it follow the torus here. But it is a little bit slow. So let's increase the speed a bit. So we go to movement. Let's set 40 or something. And now when I run, it's still a bit slow. So, okay, I put 60 to this. We try again. See if it's almost that. Okay, it's looking that it's going. What we need to do, I think, is to increase the acceleration a bit as well. So we do it like that. Go back again, and now it got a little bit more speed from the beginning. So now it's almost there. And I will also do like this, that I move this particle system a bit as well. So as you see, now it's more fine tuning. Still have a hard time to follow this. So okay, we go up to 80, and now I think it's, yeah, now you can see, now it's have the time to follow it. So now its sprinkles are following, and the camera is following, and everything is following as it should. So if I look at the camera now, and you see here, you can see that the sprinkles, they are following as much as they can the camera, oh sorry, the donut. So now we have everything, and the only thing that is left really is to texture it, put on some divider or subdividers and so on, and then you have everything finished. So I can do that rather quickly. So you have everything. So let's begin with the small. We can start from the beginning. If we go up here, you can see we have the little sprinkle here. So I now select new here. Now this will be the particles. So we will work with particles here. So I just press Shift A, input particle info. I will use the random here, so I just press Shift A again and convert the color ramp, put that into random and put that into here, and now I go to constant, and then I add a few of these, and I change these to very nice looking colors like yellow, red, so we have this, and we also decrease the roughness. And now if I go like this and we put it like, can take it where we have like this, and I put it here, you can see now if I go closer that they have different colors here. So everything is okay there. Then we also need to have some sort of light into it, and I often use an HDRI, and in this time I used one from HDRI Haven, so I put that in. So I go here, and if you don't have it, you just go to www.hdrihaven.com and you get it there. So background, and you select environment, open, and I have my HDRI here, and I think I used this one when I built it the first time. So if I now look at everything, you see I have a lot of light coming in here. Next thing I will do is that I will add some texture for this one as well. So I press here and new, and I will not do so very nice. I just put in some brown and so on. So input texture coordinate, and we take the converter color ramp and we take in something that controls it. So it will be a texture, a noise in here, and then I take the object to the noise and the factor to the color ramp and this in here, and then I change this to something like brown, this to something like more like that. We can change this a bit, so we can click here and see how much it's now. It's, you can see it's a little bit changed. And we can add, I think we can take down the strength a bit here. So we have it more like that. We can put in some changes in the roughness as well. So I just go in here and I put in a new texture noise like that, and a new color ramp. Converter color ramp, and I just take from this object to the factor again, I use color here, but I can put in a converter, RGB to black and white, not needed but looks nicer. And I take this to the roughness, and I take up this a bit, so I get a little bit more roughness on different places, and change this a little bit. So then we have that, and finally the donut also needs some type of texture. So I go back to object mode, select the donut here, and I can now put in some texture on that one as well. So press new here. And for that one I do like this. I press Shift A for input, texture coordinate, and now when it's donut it's some dark brown, some yellow, and a little bit more brown on the top. So we divide the Z-axis into 3, so converter, separate X, Y, Z. So now we take the vector from the generated in here, and now can directly take a converter color ramp using the Z-axis here to the base color here, and we have one more here. And if I now look at this image here, you can see that it's rather dark here, which means that this is bottom. So I select that one and make it like dark brown. I take the middle part, make it like more like yellow, and in the top I just do like this. It will be more in there, and then I use ease here, and I think we should subdivide this as well. So add modifier, subdivision, so it's a little bit smoother. Now it's a donut, so we have a lot of fat, so that means that we change the roughness a bit, and we can do as we did with the mountain here, using a color ramp that we convert RGB to black and white, put that in here and to the roughness, and put in a texture to have some noise into this factor, and we can use the object here as well. And now you can see that we get something here, and if more black means more fat, and if I do it like this, you have different things here. And now I also have a bump map in, so I take a vector bump, put that into normal here, and we also need a noise. I just copy it, Shift D, put it down here, and put that to the height, and now you can see it lining up on that direction. So I use object here, put it in like that, and now you get more round things, and we can take that a little bit down. I can take up the detail, and now we can take down the strength a bit and the distance a bit. So we just have a few here, and we can also do a shade smooth to it, so it's getting a bit round. So here we have the donut, and now we have everything colored. What I can do with this is, of course, I can add some displacement into it, but to do that I have to subdivide and so on to make it look smooth. So if your computer is complaining, don't do it, but if you have a powerful computer, yes, then of course you can add as much subdivision as you will. Then you just press tab, press A to everything. Let's see, now I have 2, so I press tab again. This should be the only one selected. Press tab again, right click, subdivide, and take it up like this, and then go back, and now I can add a new modifier for displacement, and I can call it text for like rock displacement, and take down the strength a bit like this, and go into this, and here I have rock displacement, and I think I will change it to Musgrave, and now you can see I have a lot of displacement, and I can play with the different things to get it in size and so on as I want to, so it looks okay. And if I look now you can see it almost looks like a rock here, and if I turn this on, you can see you have some ups and you have some downs and so on. And I can change this to a little bit less brown, so you can see the difference between the rock and donut. So we take it more like... Okay, so now you're finished, and all you have to do, you can put in some, always something to do, but you can put in some motion blur if you want to, keep it rather low if you want to, and you can also put in some depth of fields to the camera. So you can select the camera, go into camera, depth of fields, and select whatever you want to work with here. Somehow some focus object, and that will of course be your torus here, so that will work. And what you need to remember is, if you want to do some animation of this and you want the particles to follow in a good way, you need to bake the particles, otherwise they will just disappear or be strange or whatever. So as soon as you will do it, I can go to object mode here, or to viewport shading again, and find my plate here, and here I can go to my particles, and in the cache here you have the opportunity to bake. So press bake here, and then it will go through all the frames and save all the locations on your particles before you're trying to render it, and then everything will work. So then it's just to play along and do your own video and to show it for everyone. And if you don't want to see the plate, then you just add a texture to that as well. So I could go in here and can add new, take that away, principled, and instead Shift A, put in shader, and here we have transparent, and put that in here, and then you will not see that one. So now you're finished, and that is all you need to do to make my fantastic Star Wars donut sprinkle system to work. And nothing more. Hope you learned something, and see you next time, and goodbye.